Hi, it's Shar with another Daily Dose of Shar. I want to share with you a little quote that I've been spending some time just studying on. Do you hear things, or are you listening? And what's the difference between the two? Because a lot of times, I know especially when I have like little kids at home, they're just chatty all the time. And so I was mainly just filtering to hear for emergency situations, like I'm bleeding or fighting. And so there wasn't a whole lot of listening. There was a whole lot of and head nods. And my youngest daughter was a little stinker because she knew that. And she would ask open-ended questions. She never asked yes/no questions. So I really had to pay attention and listen. And the difference between the two is that when you are hearing is just it's an act of perceiving. And it is something that will happen if you are plugged into it or not. If there's noise there, it's just an act. It's just something that autopilotly happens. And that when you're listening, now listening requires concentration, and you choose to do it or you choose not to do it. It's up to you. And when you're listening, you're also connecting. You're validating somebody else's sounds that are coming out of them, their feelings, their emotions. And so when you're really listening, and you're not hearing with the intent to be heard, where you're hearing what you want, and all of a sudden, your mind works about 6 times faster than your mouth works. And so when somebody is talking in front of you, there could be something that they say that you get caught up on, and then you don't hear anything after that, because now you went from listening to hearing when there will be a pause where you can be heard. And so when we genuinely slow down and connect, and we are listening, and we're not listening to have a response, but we're listening to connect. And I found a really useful tool a few years ago, because I would have, when I go out on listing appointments and stuff, the thing that I know is that people are always going through something. There's something going on in their life. So when I'm on a listing appointment or a buyer appointment, I really need to make sure that whatever's going on in my life is shelved, and that I'm listening to them. Now, that doesn't mean that thoughts didn't come through my head, but what I found is that when I was with somebody that I wanted to intently listen to, I would repeat what they were saying out of their mouth in my head. And that would keep my brain busy enough that all those other thoughts, or those straggler thoughts that were trying to come in, didn't come in. And it really allowed me to make sure. It takes a lot more energy to listen at that level too, because you can't disconnect at all. You can't go off into a corner, because you are repeating every word they're saying in your head to stay connected. And then after their last word is said, allow that to sink in before I respond. Now, that didn't mean that sometimes I had a pad of paper with me to jot down a note. So because my memory isn't what it used to be, trust me, I'll tell you what, I'll have a thought and I'll think, that's passionate, I'm going to be all over it, but 2 seconds later it's gone. And that's because there's so many of them going on up here. So there are times where I'd have to write them down, but I was not writing things down to disconnect with the conversation. I was writing things down so that I could remember to come back and ask clarifying questions. And so when we do a better job of listening, we typically find that when we're talking to another person, most of the time they're talking only in their perspective. And when you are genuinely listening to the other person, and you realize, for this moment, what I'm going to do is realize that I don't have to agree with them. I don't have to understand them. I'm just hearing them from their perspective of where they stand. And the example I like to give is this, and I'll show it to you, where if we were talking and I told you to show me what you see in front of you, that's probably upside down, but we're going to go with it, that you see like a 6, okay? And I'm going to stand here, and even though I don't see a 6, I see a 9, I'm still going to listen and stay plugged in with the conversation, because it doesn't mean that I'm agreeing. I'm just understanding and gaining understanding on your perspective. So remember that when we are hearing and listening to people, that a lot of the times when someone is speaking, when people speak, they're speaking to be heard. When people listen, you're listening to gain understanding. And that way, if there's things that come up, you can gain some understanding of where their perspective is in your picture also. You know, one of my favorite quotes, and I shared this with a girlfriend the other day, and I found that time and time again in my life, especially when you take the high road in things, don't strive to make your presence noticed, make your absence felt. And so being in situations and gaining understanding and not necessarily making big announcements of your feelings or what your reaction might be, but when you're able to leave a situation and know that your absence is felt and that you have actually left something or an area that, or a position, or yeah, we'll just say a position, because this could go for work, this could go for boyfriend, girlfriend, marriage, it can go for a lot of different things. But when you have left a gap and they're missing you, that's not easily felt. It's not easily filled. Sorry, it is easily felt. It's not easily filled. So just know, you know what, the next time that we are talking to another person, another person is talking to us, to make sure that you're doing more than just hearing and that you're actually slowing down to listen, because it's in the listening that we connect with each other and we gain perspective of understanding. Because in the end, you're all powerful. I'm all powerful. It's this little nugget up here that we use called the brain, if you choose to use it, and that we're all connected. We should never, ever forget that. So I hope that you gain something from this, and I look forward to my next video. And remember, go love yourself today. Start with yourself like I just did. Bye.